Greetings everybody and welcome to G4G on YouTube. I am Napalm Dawn and we are here today discussing the community input for Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux. So, a couple things we'll get out of the way in the beginning of this video before we dive into it. This is not content that will be in Beta 6. This is content that will be in a future version of the game, meaning whatever content is got a major number after Beta 6, whether it be Beta 7 or a final release candidate. Now, before we go any further than that, you may stop and go, wait a minute, I got a couple questions here. If Beta 6 is not fully out, why are we talking about content in the future, so far in the future, that it's not even in Beta 6, it's in a later version? The teams that work on this stuff are separate. The coding team, which is made up of Goofy at its head and other Redux members, do not work on the story content. Some of them may do a little bit of double duty, but for all intents and purposes, the coders are the coders, and then the story development team, the artists and everything like that are on separate teams. They do their own work. They want to be ready to go, ready to insert their content no matter what state the game is in. So, whether it be content for Beta 6 or a future version, the story development team gets a jump on the ball and needs to go ahead and write everything during the time period in which they have to do it. So, what we're talking about today are the 6 winners of the simulator course that will be added to the game in the future. What that means is, like I had said, in a version that comes after Beta 6, there will be simulator courses that have a little bit of plot and also rewards along with a uniform for the characters who won their respective polls. And those polls are Generalist, Blaster, Tactician, Bruiser, Infiltrator, Scrapper, etc., etc. So these are the winners of each of the class categories. For Infiltrator, Agent Venom and Gambit and Winter Soldier were the top 3 that went head-to-head at the very end. And Gambit, as you can see here from the announcement from Rainbow Panda, Gambit was the winner of the Infiltrator course, coming in at almost exactly half the votes. So, Agent Venom pulled a 2nd place, and Winter Soldier pulled a fairly close 3rd place behind Agent Venom, but it seems like Gambit went ahead and ran away with it. For the Generalist Simulator course, it was a much tighter race, with Moon Knight pulling in 32, almost 33% of the vote, Rogue coming in at 30.7, almost 31% of the vote, and Taskmaster coming in at 36% of the vote. So, Taskmaster barely squeaks by a few percentage points and wins the Generalist course. Moon Knight definitely would have seemed like a strong front runner there. How people voted in these polls over here could probably be a mix of who the community thinks is weaker and could use a little bit of a boost, or some people may have chosen, hey, I really like this character, please let's throw good things at the character. So in the Generalist one, you could see that there's 3 super popular Generalists over there, and whereas I think Rogue is actually pretty good with the uniforms and everything that she had, Playdom gave her some love during the game's original run from 2012 to 2016. Moon Knight and Taskmaster, kind of aside from a little bit of ISOs, never really got what Rogue got. So I think in this case the community said, let's vote for people who could use a little bit of a boost, and Taskmaster won it by 9 votes. Very tight race here. 6 votes between 2nd and 3rd, and 9 votes between 1st and 2nd. Moving on for the next two polls, we have the Bruiser and the Scrapper simulators. Anti-Venom pulls in 37% of the vote, with Iceman behind him at 28.9%, so almost 29%, and Juggernaut pulling a respectable high 33, almost 34%. So, this one not quite as tight as the Generalist one was. Anti-Venom definitely pulled in some really solid numbers on this one, won it by 10, and both of them unfortunately clobbered Iceman. But again, I think Iceman's kit is pretty solid. You have the Horseman of Death Iceman, which further bumps his kit up, whereas Juggernaut was kind of plain Jane the whole way through. In my recent videos that I've been doing for YouTube with the PvP fights and on stream, Juggernaut has actually been pulling really respectable numbers for me, despite not having any ISOs and not even really feeding him plus melee damage things like the Dragon's Foot, the Steps of Shulau, or the Momentum Generator. So Juggernaut, I have more respect for him now than I used to, although I do think he gets power crept out. Anti-Venom definitely seems to be a fan favorite. I believe in this particular poll, people voted not for who needs something the most. I think they voted for somebody they really like, think is cool, and would like to have better things. I think the Juggernaut vote is maybe, hey, let's beef him up a little bit, and also a good smattering of fan favorite. For Anti-Venom, I think that one was definitely fan favorite. That is certainly one that I would lean to for the Bruisers also, because Anti-Venom is a lot of fun, and I think I would consider him a fan favorite for me, although, as most of you know, I would probably have voted for Molly Hayes in the early rounds. But let's be honest, Molly's kit is very good, her ISOs are very good, she doesn't really need a boost. That would have been a fan favorite vote for me. But yes, I certainly weep for her stamina nerf that she took way back in the day. Moving on to the Scrappers, the final three was Magic, Ghost Rider, and Deadpool. Deadpool winds up winning by 9 votes. He pulls in 36.2% of the vote. Ghost Rider coming up behind him with 33% of the vote, and then Magic pulls 31%. Another fairly tight race, 9 votes separating and then 6 votes separating, so similar to the Generalist one. Again, Magic has a really good kit already. I think her kit is just simply fairly unstoppable with the abilities that she has. She has 2 uniforms, her base, and then she got that uniform that Playdom sort of threw at us out of nowhere. I don't know if you remember the circumstances of that, but we knew that there would be a rogue uniform past the Age of Apocalypse ones. We knew there would be a rogue one and a magic one coming. Playdom had given us those details way in the past, and then it seemed like Playdom got stuck and had a little bit of a content drought where we were kind of getting some beta PvP seasons, but we weren't getting an SO, we weren't getting a full-on PvP season. There wasn't anything new, and it feels like Playdom was like, okay, we must appease the masses, throw some crackers out so nobody gets hungry. And they gave us that magic uniform and that rogue uniform. I kind of feel it was like, here's a cracker, don't starve, we'll be right back. That's sort of what that whole period felt like. But I mean, Magic's base uniform, I think her kit is great. For me, that would be a fan favorite vote, but I don't think she needs much of a boost in her abilities. Ghost Rider, I think, pulls in the double duty vote on this one, where I think it's a little bit he needs some help, and hey, we really like Ghost Rider, popular character. Deadpool, again, I think like Ghost Rider, probably pulled in a little bit of both. I think some people felt he might need a little bit of a boost, and of course he's a massive fan favorite, especially with having a movie recently. He does have the X-Force uniforms, which enable him to slot in with other X-Force members like Wolverine, Phantom X, Psylocke, Archangel, Scrapper Angel, and everything like that. Scrapper Blaster Angel. And his passers are pretty good. Psylocke would hand him a fatal blow on his level 9, but you should hope that his 9 would be a fatal blow. Anyway, I do think Deadpool does need a little bit of love. It's hard for me to pass a proper judgment on that one right now, because in beta, the 5X line and the beta 6X line, Deadpool's kit is kind of not working too great right now. And there comes a point in the original game where you're just not really using Deadpool that much anymore. So it's hard for me to pass judgment on what Deadpool actually needs, but he does win the Scrapper one, and I'm happy to see it. Ghost Rider, with him being so close, I think people feel kind of both ways on that one, that he could use a little bit of a boost outside of his worthy uniform, and also fan favorite. I think it might have been tough to throw something at Ghost Rider, because with the fact that he has a worthy uniform, how could you do something for Ghost Rider that would top a worthy uniform? I mean, for any of the characters that are worthy, if you introduce a uniform for them, I think you've got an uphill battle to make you want to go with one of those instead of the worthy uniform. So if I was on the story development team and I was looking at this, I'd be like, okay, wow, at least I don't have to create something for Ghost Rider. Could be tough. Moving on, we have the Tactician and the Blaster at this point. The final three for the Tacticians were Dr. Doom, Emma Frost, and Magneto. And for the Blaster, we had Scarlet Witch, Cable, and Nico. Going to the Tacticians, we have Dr. Doom positively smashing all expectations and trouncing the field and running away with it. He pulls in almost 51% of the votes. The next closest vote getter behind him is Magneto, who only pulls in about 27% of the votes. We're talking over 30 votes separate him and second place, being Magneto. Emma Frost pulls in a distant third, and she's down about 10 or so, 7 from Magneto. So second and third are close, but Doom runs away with it. I think this one is all about functionality. I think he has a fan base, definitely, especially with RDJ and his announcement. But the Doctor Doom one really feels like it's a functionality thing. Doom enjoyed a real high point when he was released at around Christmas of 2013. And I think they did such a phenomenal job with the lock boxes and leading up to Christmas, and you couldn't open them up until Christmas. I'll always tell everybody that really reduced me to being a 10-year-old in that phase. I felt like it gave me a tremendous sense of like child wonderment to open those lock boxes and use Doom. And I mean, Doom was powerful in PvP. Even if he was only like level 2, he didn't even have to make it all the way to 9 or 10 for him to be super powerful, because Ring Imperial was amazing. Sort of the early version of Kurth with failed attacks. But then, of course, Doom got power creeped out, and by the end of the game, if you ran into an agent in Dr. Doom in PvP, the Dr. Doom basically had the same hit points as the agent, so you were winning 3-2 even before anything happened in battle. And most likely, Ring Imperial was not affecting you the way that it used to. Doom needed some love. That being said, Magneto was also kind of left out in the cold, because you got to remember, Playdom stepped away from working with mutants. Cannonball was the last one that we dealt with, Cannonball and Molly Hayes. So once they got done with them, they left mutants behind, and I think Magneto languished a little bit. I think he could use a uniform. I think his ISOs are okay, but I would like to see a uniform for Magneto in the future, potentially the all-black one or the all-white one like we had in Marvel Heroes. Any of the versions of Magneto that we would get in the comics. Even Marvel Rivals has been throwing a lot of stuff at Magneto, including this very regal gold and red and black, very majestic uniforms they're throwing at him in Rivals. But yeah, Doctor Doom I think needed the most help out of the top 3 over here. But yeah, I could get behind Magneto getting a little bit of love too. Over on the blasters, Scarlet Witch pulls in 36.6%, Cable at 35.5%, and Nico pulling in a kind of sad 28%. So Scarlet Witch wins by 3, and the top 2 pull away pretty far from Nico, so it seems like it was very neck and neck between Scarlet Witch and Cable. As of course you know from the game, Scarlet Witch had received love throughout the game's history, having the Romany uniform, or the one that I used to call Stripper Witch, and of course the Age of Ultron one. Cable, they never really touched Cable super much after he was dropped. I don't even remember what ISOs they gave him, but I think Cable's kit is pretty good, similar to Magic. I think it's very good right out of the box. I think it does a lot of good things with the flanked and him switching modes similar to Bishop. I think Cable is a very strong and capable character. People used him quite effectively in PvP. Up till the end of the game, people will tell you they were using Cable. Nico, she enjoyed some popularity right around Pesty and the Age of Apocalypse Spec Ops, the Arcade Spec Ops, all of that gear that came from the Age of Apocalypse Spec Ops, and then working with her around the time of Arcade pairs really nicely with Pesty. Friend of the channel Darth Plato has always believed that Nico was very good right up to the end of the game with what you could do with her, and I certainly used her in PvP myself. The later benefits that she would get from being teamed up with the Runaways was also pretty solid. I can see why this one was tight between Scarlet Witch and Cable. I think both of them are fan favorites, and I think Scarlet Witch's kit, to be honest, is pretty good the way that it was on paper. If I had the chance, I think I might have given this one to Nico. I feel like she could have used just a little bit more love than these two. I think Scarlet Witch won this one on fan favorites just a little bit. So this is the results of the poll. So again, these simulator courses will appear in a future beta or release candidate depending upon what the team does after beta 6. Typically what this means is it will be a suit. There'll be some plot as you go through the simulator courses where characters will be interacting and talking to each other as you do anywhere from 3 to 5 simulator fights to go through the full course. I don't think any of the proposed ones come in under 3, and I don't know that any go above 5. So the ones that I've seen and the ones that I've had a part in designing and submitting, they're a ton of fun. I think people will absolutely love them when they get a chance to do it. The fact that they have a little bit of plot and it's not just you being dumped into a training room like the one in the X-Men mansion, like the Cerebral, like the Danger Room. It's not like, I woke up, I had breakfast, I'm going to go in the Danger Room and fight some fucking Sentinels. Like there's some rationale behind these courses, and I think they're a lot of fun, and they're gonna have rewards more than just the uniform, but I'm gonna hold that close to the vest as a surprise for when these come out and when the team is ready to talk about them a little bit further. For Beta 6 progress, unfortunately, Goofy is dealing with some real-life issues again, so his input into the Beta 6 code has slowed down quite a bit. However, from what I've seen from the other developers, they are picking up the slack and they are working on it extremely hard. The beta testers are reporting stuff to the coders pretty much daily at this point. There's rarely a day that goes by where there isn't some conversation about things, and some things are minor, like when I go to a ally and I collect things, which unfortunately I just hit collect all, so I won't be able to show you. Like I noticed when I collect ISOs from the allies, the icon for the ISO was very big. But if I get silver or shield points or something like that, the icon is much smaller, a little bit more reserved, whereas the ISOs are huge. Those aren't game breaking, those are minor. That's not something that's going to hold up beta 6 progression, but from what I've seen and can report to you guys, the testers and the developers are in high spirits. I have not seen anything where people are like, damn, I just can't get this fixed, or I don't know what is going on over here and everything. Things seem to be pretty positive from the team overall. Also, since we are in February, the 5X line of betas and even beta 6 is now hitting the Valentine's time period. So you may see that the Valentine's Day cards are dropping in your spinners, and when you are doing content and everything like that, there you go. There's the Hawkeye Valentine's card. So these are programmed events that are programmed into the game. They're working offline, just like the Halloween candy or the Christmas stuff or the Easter stuff and everything. The game knows what season it is and gives you some appropriate gear in the spinners and drops and stuff like that. It's not like it's going out and talking to a server. It just knows from your system clock. One warning about the system clock: when beta 6 releases, I would avoid highly trying to play around with your system clock to shorten the timers on anything. You may seriously corrupt your save and put it into a unrecoverable state, and if you don't back up your saves, you're going to be in a lot of trouble and you're going to lose progress, and there's no way for anybody to restore it because there is no online component. You would literally have to roll your computer back if something like that happened, and that is a tremendous undertaking for a game as simple, albeit as loved, as Redux. So just take it from me, take it from the development team as a serious warning: do not try to cheat when beta 6 comes out, whether it's something as simple as the date management or date manipulation or more serious forms of cheating. Just don't do it. Highly recommend against it. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this update on some of the polls that have been going on recently, and just hang in there for beta 6. It'll happen. Just give it a little bit of time. Talk to you guys later.